Hello and welcome to the Interior Design Business. My name is Jeff Hayward and I'm here with my co-host Susie Rumbold, Creative Director of Tessuto Interiors and a past president of the British Institute of Interior Design, to talk about creativity. We're here at Studio Vero and Susie, tell us more.
It's often said that interior design is 5% creativity and 95% uphill slog. Most of what we do involves translating a creative vision into a set of instructions for somebody else to build and then battling through to make sure that that vision is realised. So while the process is important, without that precious initial spark, there is no interior to build. All designers suffer at times from designer's block. There are times when the ideas simply will not flow and times when the designer can find themselves drowning in the 95% of the project admin. So, how can designers keep their heads above water and keep that creative spark alive? Where should they look for the design hooks that will make their projects sing? And how can they hold onto their vision while weathering the din of project noise that can sometimes threaten to overwhelm them? Welcome to the Interior Design Business.
Now, to find out the answers to these and other burning questions, we are today joined by two very special guests, Venetia Rudebeck and Romanos Brihi from Studio Vero. Hello. Now, you two are the creative vision behind London-based practice Studio Vero, and you were recently named, I believe, one of House & Garden's top 100 finest interior designers.
Welcome to
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great to have you.
So, before we begin, I was just hoping you might be able to tell us a bit about Studio Vero, how you came to be working here together, and what's the story and what sort of projects do you do?
Well, we actually have been best friends since the age of 13. So we met a very long time ago. And Venetia we were at school together, and then Venetia went off and studied at Leeds. I went to Royal Holloway and Venetia went to KLC the year after, and I was sort of at a bit of a loose end and just loved everything Venetia was telling me about the course. So I did the course the following year, and then we both went off and did stints at different studios. And then we set up, funny enough, by ourselves. So I set up a small studio, Venetia did, and we were just on the phone all the time together because it is quite a difficult business to do by yourself.
It's hard being a silo.
And, if one of us sort of needed an extra pair of hands, I remember Venetia coming in one weekend and helping me out doing a project. And it was just a sort of very natural sort of path, really. And we formed Studio Vero in 2014. And not many people were surprised. I mean, but for most of our friends, they always believe we'd set up.
It's like, what took you so long, really?
So, it's hard to believe that's 11 years ago.
Anything to add, Venetia?
No, everything he says is true. So we set up the company just over 10 years ago. We had our 10-year anniversary last year, which I think was a real milestone for us. I don't think, when we set up the business, either of us had much of a clue about business. But I think, the one thing we're always sure of is that, interior design was really the only path for us. So it's been a journey. There have been highs and lows, but the highs definitely outweigh the lows. And, I think we're so happy that we're now in a place where I think our kind of vision and our aesthetic is just, we're just so kind of confident in it, and it's become really enjoyable. And I think the clients feel that too, really.
What sort of projects do you focus on?
Well, they're all, not all, they are primarily private residential. So the client is everything, as you know. And, we work on these projects with clients for anything between, a year really and up to 4. One of our great projects that we finished a year or so ago, we were working on that for 4 years. I managed to have 2 children during the project. Just to give the client always laughs. He always says that the street name of the house should be one of the kids' middle names. yeah, it's just a really, but really where I'm going with this, I think that's really that's the thing we love most about it is
a lot of variation.
Yeah.
So we are working on everything at the moment, from sort of small townhouse in Notting Hill to very large residences, in Knightsbridge, and everything in between. And all the clients are very different. And the aesthetic, it's like, definitely, I would say all the designs we do definitely have a common thread running through them. But our clients are, in terms of background, in terms of culture, in terms of ages, are all exceptionally varied.
Yeah, I think at the moment we're working for 27 years old up to 85 and everything in between.
Wow.
So yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so creativity then. Let's explore that. And I'm interested to know what happens when a new project actually comes into the studio. What's the first thing that you do to get your juices flowing?
Well, we're very collaborative. You've seen the studio here, so it's very much open plan. Venetia and I all our projects kick off with a design consultation with the client. So that is sort of generally a 2-hour meeting with a client, where it's what we call, it's like a thorough getting to know meeting, where we will have a whole list of questions that are relevant to them. And it's a chance for the clients to run through. A lot of clients now are savvy when it comes to Instagram, Pinterest. They have their own sort of inspirational images. So that is a really important meeting, because most of our projects, we are doing the interior architecture as well as the FF&E. So that really enables us to understand sort of things like, are they big cooks? Do they entertain much? Do they have pets, etc., etc.? It really goes down to the nitty gritty, from, what are their clothing storage requirements? And then from that, we move on to the conceptual phase and the layouts, which is probably one of my favorite phases of the process.
And are you doing these things together, or do you separate the projects when they come into, that's a Venetia job and that's a Ryan's job?
At the beginning, it's very much together, and Romanos and I, we are involved in all of the projects. One of us will take more of a lead, but all of the projects that are running through the office at the moment, we both are very involved in lots of aspects of them. But yeah, I think that the initial couple of phases being that design consultation followed by the concept phase, it's really great having both of us fully involved, because you want as many ideas as possible. And I think, with the design consultation, that's the big meeting. But ahead of that already, there'll have been, visits to site, phone calls with the client, and you're constantly picking up on things they're saying or interpreting things they might not be saying, or, and I think 2 of us on that means that exactly. It's really, really helpful.
So would you say you both have different strengths?
No.
I wish he did.
We don't know exactly the same.
But
Venetia's definitely, I think, and I'm not just saying this because she's my best friend, but she's very considered. I tend to do things sort of in quite a sort of fast manner, and Venetia sort of pulls me back sometimes and sort of makes me think maybe, in a slightly different direction. But no, I would say our strengths are exceptionally similar.
Yeah, and I'd say we both do that for each other. But I do think, the other great thing is that, like anything in life, there's a bigger connection often between certain people than there is between others. And that's often how one of us will end up taking a lead on a project, because you might just have some kind of connection or something in common, or you just simply get on better,
And is there inspiration that you take from Romanos and he takes from you? Are you conscious of that?
Definitely. If I ever do up my own house properly, I'll definitely improve.
It's a vote of confidence.
Well, do you know what? It's something, and Susie, we were discussing this about the sort of mentoring earlier, that, what I really try and get sort of graduates to grasp is that this is not a 9 to 5. This is a lifestyle, being an interior designer. And it's funny, Venetia and I, sort of at the end of the day, that's not sort of the end of work for us, but it doesn't feel like work. So Venetia's sending me sort of a Christie's auction PDF at sort of 9 p.m. at night. So it's just, you're constantly living and breathing and reading and looking for that inspiration. So we're very often at night still flicking each other sort of ideas or seeing this piece. And I really enjoy that part of the business.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. Do you also take inspiration from your clients? Do you find them inspiring?
Yeah, absolutely. They're all, I mean, we're so lucky that, we work with some really, really brilliant people. As Romanos just alluded to, they're all very different. So I think, the different backgrounds and the different professions just makes it really an interesting, and, definitely take inspiration from them. People kind of come out with comments, clients, like, oh, well, I'm no good at this, so I'll defer to you, whatever. And it's obviously complete nonsense. I mean, everyone, and then you can see, of course, they've got taste. They've got the most, they dress amazingly. Like, it's just, they're just not practiced at, but it's really fun working with them. And, especially when it comes to things, like building the art collection or the accessories or just all of those, it's lovely doing it with them, and that's where I think we get a lot of the enjoyment from.
Interesting. And how does that inspiration then feed into the client's vision of the project, into your designs?
Or do you?
Or do you indeed?
We do. I mean, I was just thinking as we were discussing that, I'm thinking of one of our clients who only sort of is interested in Georgian antiques. Now, that was something that was not immediately our comfort zone. But I really enjoyed the whole process of really improving my knowledge about Georgian antiques. And I was also thinking, when it comes to the art, we had a client a couple of years ago, they only had South American art. They were South American themselves. And definitely, I would say the interiors really complemented their art beautifully. I mean, it was very vibrant, the interiors we did. And so, yes, it does influence us. Some clients come to us without any idea at all about what they want. So that's really, I really enjoy that process of sort of, trying to
Teasing it out of
them, and finding out and maybe making them think of something that they just had never thought of. So it's very much client dependent, but definitely clients come to us with quite a strong aesthetic. It's not a bad thing, that they're obviously coming to us because they still need our help, but they've got a much clearer direction, or maybe they've done it a few times before. And I think definitely clients that have had experience working with interior designers have a much clearer idea of what they want this time around.
Yeah. So my next question, which you sort of answered in a way, is: are clients' existing possessions a boon or a hindrance? We used to talk about EPs, existing possessions, back in the day.
Is it
We are more often than not working with existing pieces, and sometimes they're a great starting point to a scheme. Most, if they've got a fantastic rug or it's a wonderful piece of art, then it could set off the palette. Or I'm not gonna lie, there are times when I might leave it to Romanos to say, do you know what, guys, I think we can do that, or no, or this, maybe we could use this in another house. Yeah, I mean, obviously we want to for lots of different reasons, but most, if people are bringing stuff with them, more often than not, it's got a great emotional time. We want to incorporate those pieces. We want it to feel like a home. Yeah.
Anything to add on that?
No, I mean, Venetia touched on it. We did a project a few years ago in Chelsea, and they had this incredible antique Persian rug that we ended up using in the entrance hall. And it's quite fun working within those constraints sometimes. But But no, it's rather nice when clients bring something from their past that we work, that we can sort of create designs.
It illuminates this.
It's quite funny. What we do often have is a kind of, we might have a couple, and one half of the couple is saying, I definitely want to keep my, coffee table that I brought back from Thailand on my travels and whatever. And, the other half of the couple will be saying, make sure you get rid of that. So, yeah, but no, we really love incorporating old pieces.
That's
Navigating those tricky personal relationships. Eh?
Absolutely.
Very much.
What about the building? I mean, a lot of the projects you must work on, it comes to you from the architecture of the building as well, doesn't it? Surely the creative spark.
Definitely. I mean, we love sort of period properties with a wealth of architectural interior features, and it's great working with those. And sometimes you're not. I mean, we're working on a house in Nottingham at the moment, and all these details. I mean, don't forget, 20 years ago, it was quite fashionable for this kind of white box look, and all the architectural details were ripped out. Fireplaces, cornices, skirtings, architraves, etc., etc. And we love putting those back in.
Yeah.
Because we think it's a really good sort of grounding for our sort of interiors. And without them, I find it quite difficult,
Yes.
actually.
Yes, lacking in spiritual soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you find it at all that clients can have very fixed ideas about how their spaces will be used? They come to you and they kind of go, okay, it's a 4-bedroom house, and this room's going to be that, and that room's going to be that, and that one's going to be that. Do you find that you see beyond that? Does that create issues at all?
Well, our job is really to present a number of layout options. And within those, we'll obviously show the options that they want, but it's also our job to show them options that they hadn't thought of. And that I just love that space planning. So many homes in London are, people are using 40% of them, and you've got these empty rooms. The architecture is, is not for modern living, and and that's where I think we do really add value. And I love it when you can really rework a home and you're not even extending the square footage, but you're actually just making it feel so much bigger because you're using all the spaces. So
finding purposes for those unused drawing rooms.
Unused drawing rooms, guest rooms that get used twice a year. Rooms that just become kind of dumping grounds because you haven't got a proper hall with decent storage, and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And how important is it for your clients to buy into this design process?
Well, I mean, it's hugely important. The clients have got to be fully on board, and we've all we really got to be singing from the same hymn sheet, for want of a better kind of way of putting it. I think if we're not all in agreement by the end of the concept phase, and we haven't got a clear design direction for the project of how it's going to kind of be executed, that's a kind of red flag moment for us. And we've all got to be on board. Romanos and I always say that the biggest, there's got to be trust between us and the clients. And if that isn't there, the project can't work.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
Very important.
Do you have any kind of tricks or tips for how do you ensure that you're taking your client with you on this design journey? If you get to the point where you are perhaps parting company at the end of what do you do? How do you bring them back on track? Or do you then veer off to follow in their footsteps? Or do you just part company at that point?
Well, I think, a lot of our projects...
It's happened.
I mean, I'm just looking at the project board behind Venetia. A lot of our projects are repeat. So it's very much what we always sort of give our clients. And when you're small, and we are a studio of 7, you are able to give that client an incredibly personal service. And where, Venetia and I are incredibly involved. We attend all client meetings. We oversee all the designs in the studio. So the clients really, well, hopefully feel very well looked after by us. And it is a sort of, after people, homes are the most emotional thing in their lives. So we really are very aware of that, and we give our clients the best service we can. And a lot of them become friends.
Yeah, I think it's all about communication. Pretty much like any relationship, it's constantly staying in touch, keeping them updated, having, I think that's where things go wrong. And I think, it's all about constant communication.
Okay, so designer's block. Is that a thing here? And if it is, how do you deal with it? What happens when you do hit a wall?
Well, that's where I really take my hat off to people that are working on their own, because the great thing here is obviously, there's a group of us. So, you'd be lying if you said that you were always at kind of optimum creativity. Obviously, there are sticking points in any project, whether it's creatively or just, a kind of difficult part of the project. But I think it's everyone else that kind of... that can bring you out of that. The other thing that Romanos and I really, really benefit from is getting out of the studio. There's nothing more inspiring than going to see something. I mean, it can be completely unrelated, but just having that mental break, and it might just be like, the detail in the brass bar of the restaurant that you stopped on the way back that just made you think of something, or London is just an inspiration in itself, really, isn't it?
And I think you've just touched on something quite key there. Looking, is it essential that interior designers are capable of looking and actually seeing what they're looking at?
100%. But funny enough, I don't think it's not something you can learn. It's either inbred.
Innate.
I was always I had a fantastic visual memory growing up. Sadly, don't serve me that well in my academia, but I had a fabulous visual memory, and it's interesting, and I see it with one of my nieces who can recall things. And it's definitely something that is quite difficult to train. So you either sort of, walking around, whether it's a museum or whether you're walking around one of your sites, having that very sort of attention to detail.
Other people's houses.
Absolutely paramount.
And it's the same thing, everything in life now is just, getting off the screen and getting out into real life is just so much better.
No more doom scrolling.
Have you got any favourite places that you would go to?
Good question.
Very good question. I mean, I think one of the things that we really love doing is looking around other homes, whether they're huge National Trust stately homes or just other properties in London, especially when they are of a period that hasn't been completely changed. And I think that's always a real inspiration to us, isn't it?
And we've done a few sort of outings with the team. We did Dennis Sava's house, which is in Spitalfields. Leighton, who I know in Holland Park. But yes, Venetia and I tend to visit a lot of. We did a wonderful visit of an artist's home in Bloomsbury a couple of weeks ago, which is super inspiring. But yes, just generally anything that's sort of interiors related.
Fascinating.
Before we continue, we'd like to do a quick shout out to Natural Mat, the organic bed and mattress company based on the banks of the River Exe in Devon. If you're designing a space where wellness and sustainability matter, then this, Susie, is a name to know.
Yes, their beds and mattresses are handcrafted using natural organic materials, no synthetics, no glues, and zero harmful chemicals. Plus, their organic wall filling makes them naturally fire retardant, so no need for chemical sprays.
And they're also the first B Corp certified bed company in the UK. Solar powered workshop, plastic free packaging, and a brilliant bed and mattress for life initiative. Refurbish, recycle, or donate so nothing ends up going to landfill.
And their showrooms are total design inspiration. Each one features a sleep zone with dim lighting, calming scents, and even a birdsong soundtrack which was recorded in the nature reserve adjacent to their Devon workshop. It's a sensory experience that you and your clients will find inspirational.
So you can visit them in London, Knutsford, Devon, or in the Cotswolds, or catch them at Decorex this October.
Learn more at naturalmat.co.uk. Natural Mat, where sustainability meets sleep beautifully.
Venetia, once you have that initial design vision, moving from design vision to creatively then applying that and realizing it to show to the client and get them on board.
Well, it's really about the concept presentation, and
I
that,
think so.
that really dictates the following.
Yeah, I mean, things are constantly being kind of developed and expanded, and then you're kind of honing in on things that are chosen and liked and developing them more, and eventually getting to the point where things are complete. And that's a really ever evolving, fairly long process. And that is when you can kind of get quite kind of creatively caught up in it and spend hours. But it's so great when you do get that and you suddenly start running with something. And to your point earlier about kind of, that creative block, it's like, when you've got the opposite of that, because you're suddenly
You're in the zone.
You're just in the zone, exactly. And the other reason I know is I'm desperate to tell everyone about it. Like Romanos. I know you're going out for dinner, but you've got to listen. This is what we should do. So yeah, it just comes, doesn't it?
And what sort of tools do you and the team use to help you develop your designs?
I'm just thinking about a project at the moment. We are using sort of inspiration from a couple of the old catalogues, Christie's catalogues that we had, and just using inspiration from there's a few Jean Royer pieces in there that we're using inspiration from. But really, once we get the clients on board with the conceptual design and we have their feedback on it, actually, the design direction then is very, very clear for us. But we love looking, I mean, we use a lot of antiques anyway, but in terms of sort of, more, new pieces, we love designing bespoke pieces. I mean, that to me is a big part of what we do.
Yeah, and we're constantly drawing, you're drawing things up, visuals of the room, specific pieces, working out what works actually, that hasn't worked, it's not going to, this detail isn't going to, or, now the room's drawn up, actually that feels way too heavy and so on. But also those visuals are just key for clients. They really need to see that.
It's very exciting to see them as well.
Yeah. And do you find that you've gone down something, or you've assumed a direction from the design concept, and actually when you draw it up, you kind of go, oh, you know what, that's really not working. You then have to go back to the client and go, you know what, that's really not working. Are they happy to buy your advice on that?
I would say
push.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that's.
I suppose it's the honesty of the communication.
Absolutely, and we've given this a go, and actually, I'm just not then. Yeah, and I could do it better. Yeah,
it's part of the process.
No, totally.
And your work is complex, richly storied. So how do you approach the layering of colours and materials in your designs?
Well, this is very much dependent on the client. We love using color. We also sometimes do a lot more pared back interiors with sort of just hints of color. For us, the layering is very much the art, the accessories, the textiles, but the finishing touches. I mean, a project is never complete in my mind unless we've done, helped with all the decorative accessories. And of course the art. And the art is something that can often be an afterthought. We like to bring that right to the front, and sort of that really as part of our initial discussions with the client, you know, do they have an existing art collection they'd like to bring with them? And yeah, it's
And I suppose making sure there's budget allocated for it too. I know we're not talking about budget today, but making sure that there's enough money while quality works.
Yes. Creativity needs a budget, right?
Yeah.
we don't want posters on the wall at the end of the party.
Quick photograph well. What is your approach to working out how and where those really key FF&E pieces should go and where they're needed?
That's true.
It's a great question. Well, the key FF&E places that's put like this, yeah. You know, they're really, it's rather like a piece of art. You know, there'll be certain rooms and certain spaces in those rooms where you really feel that they deserve a kind of, you know, great piece. So yes, I mean, there's a natural hierarchy. If we're doing kind of family homes, it's unlikely that, you know, the top floor is going to see much. You know, it's going to be in the key rooms. But I don't know. I think we just think about, it's really about creating interesting schemes with lots of different pieces. And it kind of happens naturally, I would say, more than, wouldn't you agree, Romanos? You know, it's just,
Again, it's this idea of layering.
yeah.
Layering and you know, it's funny because last year we did the kitchen at Wow House, and what we wanted to sort of, and Venetia and I in both our kitchens at home had great pieces of art in there, and very often clients spend most of their time in the kitchen, but the best art is for the living areas. So we really wanted to show you know, you can bring, you know, fantastic pieces into the kitchen and enjoy them.
And sourcing antiques and art, I get the feeling you really enjoy that part of the job.
Big time.
Especially if you're sending each other the catalogue shots at 9 p.m.
Well, it can be very costly because we tend to sort of buy a lot for ourselves as well. But no, it is definitely part of, you know, a part of the business that Venetia and I absolutely love. And funny enough, I think when we look back to our teenagers, we were very amateur sort of collectors back then, and still are. And it's something, you know, I get immense pleasure from. And doing it for clients is almost, you know, it doesn't feel like
What a joy. Yeah, what a joy.
So how often and at what stages of the journey do you meet and get sign-off from clients as you're taking them on this journey?
How often during the so what we try and
obviously.
what we try and do actually now at the beginning of a project is give quite a clear program of the project, you know, or at least that year ahead, and when we're going to need when we're going to be presenting to them, when we're going to require meetings,
Approval.
because you know, you sometimes very rarely get a client and they will say just do it, but most clients want to be involved, and so we do need that feedback for us to kind of move things forward. So yes, you know, every few weeks we will be meeting with them, but often a lot more than that. I mean, I've got clients that I'm in contact with daily, or, you know, if only by WhatsApp, but just kind of obviously different phases of the project.
Yeah, that's like critical times.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
And how do you respond if that feedback isn't entirely positive about the creative direction?
If it isn't, sorry to interrupt you, I think if it isn't positive, it probably means that I've missed something, or I haven't understood, or haven't listened properly at that, you know, because we should be, the feedback we're getting,
It should be aligned.
we should be aligned. Because we need to kind of go back to the consultation phase and really kind of hone in on that and go look at
Interested in the husband and wife situation with the coffee table. So what if that appeared in the scheme and it was presented to the partner who didn't want that in the scheme?
I mean, I think
Wouldn't happen.
yeah, I mean, with most clients who think they have quite different taste, hopefully what you end up giving them is something slightly different to what they both thought they'd have, that they both fall in love with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key, really, is getting them both to fall in love with the scheme, and then it can just...
And very often, I mean, more times than not, you find working for a couple that they will have completely different aesthetics. And we did a project many years ago. He loved sort of very contemporary. She loved more sort of timeless, classic. And, usually what you see is one of them will take charge.
Okay.
And definitely that is a more successful outcome.
Got it.
Got it. So, are there any other designers whose work inspires you?
Good question. Lots.
Yeah, so many. I mean, from, for the last 20 years ago, I think I must refer to Stephen Gambrell's website at least once every 48 hours, literally, for anything in the city. But I love his work, and I think his use of color is just so inspirational, and he puts together color combinations and palettes that I wouldn't think of, and that's what I think is really interesting, and is very difficult for other people to imitate. Most people, it's just so obvious. And but lately, I don't know if it's the weather outside.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm so drawn. Australian interior design is on fire, and Tamsin Johnson's kind of airy. Yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Nice.
Climate related. What about you?
Me, well, sort of closer to home, I'd say Vir Granny is always someone that I've loved his interiors. They've just got a wonderful timelessness to them that could have, will probably be there in 50 years' time and still look equally as fabulous. But there's almost too many to choose from. But yes, we are, we love looking at other interiors for interior designers for inspiration.
We feel like we're living in a bit of a golden age, actually. Well,
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And what would be the one piece of advice you would give to designers struggling to find the right hook?
I'm one thing I love hearing from my team on a Monday is what they've been up to on a weekend. Get out there, and just, take it all in and build yourself a fantastic blackbird and just read and see as much as you can.
Sounds pretty sensible to me.
Just living and feeling it all.
Anything on top of that?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I sometimes, there are certain exhibitions that I think you go to, and again, on the kind of color combination thing, I'll see in paintings colors that I never would have thought would work, and I think that can be a great starting point. I think it's really great to start a scheme with one piece, and sometimes if I'm struggling, I will. There are so many wonderful new contemporary rugs, but also antiques, and I think finding an amazing rug can be the best starting point.
So start with a rug.
Start with a rug or start with a painting.
Start with a rug or start with a painting. Yeah.
You've touched on places in London, but what about places abroad? Are there any particular countries or cities that inspire you?
I mean, I don't think it's any, one city or place in particular. I mean, I'm a huge fan of having a mental break from London, and I think the change of scenery is just, it's just so brilliant. So really wherever you go, and I think, in the last year, if, the architecture that I've seen in kind of Tangier and Sintra and New York and, all of those completely different places has just made me, think of doing things in a different way, whether it's the carving or the tiles or the,
You're right.
it's just a difference.
Yeah.
You're seeing things every day here, and you stop, and you to your point of looking earlier, you can stop looking, and then you see something different, and it kind of reignites you again. So it's just good to, and it doesn't have to be abroad. Of course, it can be anywhere.
Yeah.
It can be, there's so many wonderful cities in this country that we should definitely go to more.
Romanos, anything on that?
I completely agree with Venetia. I spend quite a lot of time by Palm Beach. I always find that incredibly inspiring, especially the sort of older part on the ocean. and incredible antiques, incredible art galleries, and just incredible interiors there. But yes, I completely agree with Venetia. You know, every sort of excursion, holiday, day out, you know, I'm sort of always living and breathing and sort of feeling really inspired.
Sounds like it's the career for you two.
No, feel very lucky.
Feel very lucky.
Thank
Okay.
Okay, so well, it just remains for me then to say thank you so much, Romanos and Venetia. What an amazing conversation that's been.
That's very kind.
We
We'd
loved
love
it.
to do it again.
Thank you.
And we do hope you've enjoyed this episode, and please do get in touch on our social channels at Interior Design Business Pod to share any feedback. Thank you to our series partner Natural Mat, and The Interior Design Business is a Wildwood Plus production. Thank you.